Let's talk about cinema camera brands, cinema cameras, shall we? Why might you pick one over the other? These days, a lot of them are very comparable, frankly. They have high resolutions, they make great images, the color is great, they're fully featured. There's a lot of great options out there in various budgets. I'll just go over some things that I think really differentiate each of these brands and make them stand out and might make you go with one over the other. So first off, let's talk about Red. So Red typically have the better high frame rate options out there, though that is changing. I'll get to that in a second. Red has high frame rate options that typically perform better in low light conditions than some of the other cinema cameras. And they have the Red RAW, compressed RAW format, which is very efficient and is a great codec in my opinion. Cons, I would say poor highlight retention. Like the highlights are not very good on Red cameras. They don't do that well in that area compared to some of the competitors. Price is about middle of the road, so you could consider that to be a con when you compare it to something like Blackmagic, which is much more affordable. However, you have something like the Red Komodo and Komodo X, which are much more toward the end of affordability and more competitive with something like Blackmagic. Another potential con is the color science. Not everybody is a fan of the Red color science in the sense that they don't like how the image looks, they don't like the color overall, they don't like how it renders skin tones. It does have a certain look to it, just like any sensor does. It's not a con for me, but some people aren't a fan of that. Moving on to Blackmagic. Okay, Blackmagic is the cheapest of all the options. That is their #1 selling point in my opinion. A lot of people do like the B-RAW format. They like the color, they like the look of the camera. I think they have gotten much better over time. They typically have been like kind of clunky designs. There's been some weirdness. There's been some reliability issues, but they're just improving by leaps and bounds. And with their latest Ursa 12K Cine camera, that thing seems like a beast. I have it on good authority. It is an outstanding camera. It looks like it creates gorgeous footage, does high frame rate, it does a lot. So it's pretty impressive, but generally price affordability is the #1 selling point of Blackmagic. Some of the cons of Blackmagic cameras, I would say, if you are buying an older model of camera with something like Pocket 4K, the weird back screen, the lack of tilting screens, and there's just a lot of weird stuff that made rigging the cameras kind of a pain and caused issues. So you have to kind of work around that. Another con of Blackmagic cameras, which has been solved in the recent cameras if I remember correctly, is windowing if you're going to smaller resolutions in the camera. To me, this was a big problem. If I wanted to go from 4K to 1080, at least when shooting B-RAW, it would window the image. So it was a huge crop factor. If you shot in ProRes, that wasn't a problem, but now you lose the capabilities that B-RAW provides, and then frankly, a lot of the benefits of the camera in the first place. So the windowing was bad. However, I believe in the Pixis and in the newest Ursa Cine 12K and that range of cameras, they fixed that problem. They no longer window. Now it is downsampling from the full sensor to a smaller resolution, which is awesome. It's such a big improvement. The next thing is Arri. Arri is the most expensive, hands down. Doesn't even come close. Their flagship camera is the Arri Alexa 35. It's an $85,000 camera. So why would someone pick an Arri Alexa 35? Or an Arri camera? And the #1 thing is their highlight retention capability. It's probably tied with the skin tones. People say they really love how the Arri cameras render skin tones. It looks very natural, it's very flattering to people, and they feel that it's the closest look to film out of all the digital cinema cameras that are available. For sure, the highlight retention, in other words, like how many stops overexposed you can have certain things while you're still retaining information, it still looks good, where it doesn't start to have weird colors and stuff when things are overexposed. The Arri just like knocks everybody out of the park in that regard. They're just solid, reliable workhorse cameras. Like Arri cameras are designed to go through hell and back and be extremely reliable. However, this takes us to the cons. And my first con is, other than the Alexa Mini, the Arri cameras tend to be quite bulky, quite difficult to deal with. They're heavy, big cameras compared to some of the other options out there. And I realize that this is a high-end cinema camera, and so it's going to tend to be designed for crews where they have a full-fledged crew that can help moving the camera around, dealing with camera support stuff, but the heavier and bigger the camera, the more heavy duty and the more camera support stuff you need. So that's something to keep in mind. I don't think it's particularly small crew friendly because of the size. I think that the lighter and smaller your camera is, to me, I just feel like that gives me so much more freedom. Like I feel less bound to keeping the camera still or like certain camera support equipment due to the size and the weight. So those are some things that differentiate some of these big brands. I didn't cover every brand, just really the main cinema cameras out there. So I hope this is helpful information for you and helps you understand what some of the pros and cons are. And if you like the video, give it a like, subscribe or follow wherever you're watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.